Viewers, the Congress will never acknowledge that their Member of Parliament and putative leader in waiting, let me be more exact, Rahul Gandhi, has crossed the thin line between criticizing the party in power in India, which is the BJP, and undermining the interests of the country itself when speaking on foreign soil. As you know, viewers, for years altogether, successive Indian governments have been hypercritical of anyone calling for intervention in the nation's internal affairs. You know this. There are many instances, and many of them come to mind, when those calling for third-party mediation, let's say in Kashmir, have had to backpedal super quick and apologize because they've been taken apart. And not just, viewers, by their opponents, but by you. Who, after all, wants to see some Joe Blow country lecture us? I mean, that is an undermining of our sovereignty. Now, Rahul Gandhi, viewers, Member of Parliament, swears by the Constitution, finds himself in a similar predicament as those in the past who have called, for example, for third-party mediation in Kashmir or in any other Indian affair. And there have been occasions, viewers. Today, when the Congress MP set foot inside Parliament, a day after he landed in India, a battery of NDA ministers pounced on him for undermining Bharat's territorial integrity on foreign soil. The only demand that echoed in the House, in fact in both houses of Parliament, was, and I quote, Rahul Gandhi, maafi mango, unquote. The fireworks led to a House adjournment. So does the BJP have a case against Rahul Gandhi? What are the hard facts? Times Now brings you the story of 51 hours that Lutyens media conveniently ignores. No fact checker will pick up on this, viewers. No other channel will focus on this mysterious tale of 51 hours. I'll tell you why we are talking about 51 hours. On Saturday, March 4th, so around 10, 11 days back, Rahul Gandhi spoke at the Indian Journalists Association in the UK. You'll all remember that. It was just a few days before Holi. There he specifically shames the US and the EU for mutely watching on as democracy is being crushed in India, which he says is a huge crime of omission on their part. Now, Rahul's intent was clear. He was shaming the United States and the EU in the hope that they would condemn the Indian government, Modi's government, for allegedly quashing democracy, just because Rahul Gandhi says so. Viewers, this would, and you would agree, amount to direct meddling in the internal affairs of India. India, for instance, has never officially slammed the United States for racial attacks that have taken place in the US, or even for upending the right to abortion. We've never officially done so, viewers. We may have a view on it, but we have never deemed it right to lecture anyone. Even when Prime Minister Modi had been asked about Donald Trump's proposed immigration ban, PM Modi categorically said that he will not comment on the election campaigns in a foreign country. And we are talking about the last elections in the US. Now, viewers, when Rahul Gandhi made these remarks, he was trolled. So he makes these remarks, as I told you, on a Saturday. He makes them with the full intention of guilting these countries into speaking up. And quite rightly, he was trolled here in India, and many people asked him what he was doing. Why was he blurring the lines between criticizing the government, which he's allowed to do, viewers, and basically, viewers, inviting foreign meddling in India and its internal affairs. So 51 hours later, when he was speaking to Chatham House on the 6th of March, remember on the 4th of March, he invited the US and the EU. Now on the 6th of March, Rahul does a complete volte-face, a U-turn. He said that India's alleged democratic backsliding was India's internal matter. He says no one has a right to ask us a question about it. We'll sort it out. The question is, what prompted the U-turn? What prompted him to course correct? Was it a realization that he had erred in judgment gravely? And if so, shouldn't he then apologize? Now first listen to the two versions, viewers. The versions from a Saturday and then a Monday. Listen in.
People don't quite understand the scale of India and its democracy. So, how would you react if democracy suddenly disappeared in Europe? Right? You'd be shocked and you'd be like, oh my God, that's a massive blow to democracy. Well, how would you react if something, a structure 3.5 times Europe suddenly went non-democratic? Right? That's happened already. It's 3 or 4 times the size of the United States in terms of numbers. Same with regards to Europe. So the surprising thing is that the so-called defenders of democracy, which are the United States, European countries, seem to just be oblivious that a huge chunk of the democratic model has come undone, right? Which is a real problem. Well, it's our problem, right? It's an internal problem. It's an Indian problem. And the solution is going to come from inside. It's not going to come from outside. However, the scale of Indian democracy means that democracy in India is a global public good, right? It impacts way further than our boundaries. If Indian democracy collapses, in my view, democracy on the planet suffers a very serious, possibly fatal blow.
Now viewers, just note this. So on the 4th of March, he says, usual defenders of democracy are silent. Surprising, the US, EU are oblivious of this. What is he talking about? Democracy is disappearing in India. What does he want? He wants the US and the EU to speak up against India. Now that would constitute meddling. Then, after being trolled, after being questioned, he says, our problem is an Indian problem. India's problem is an internal problem. Solution will come from India. So something changed. And it is for this reason that the BJP says that Rahul Gandhi has made it a habit of undermining Bharat whenever he visits a foreign country. Listen in to this plethora of reactions that came in from the BJP today.
Rahul Gandhi has made it into a habit to derail Indian democracy, criticize it, and demean it. आज उन्होंने प्रेस में ऐसी कोई बात नहीं की कि उन्हें खेद है जो उनके द्वारा कहा गया।
राहुल गांधी ने कहा कि यहाँ कॉलेजों में, यूनिवर्सिटी में जाकर के वो भाषण भी नहीं दे सकते हैं। उन्होंने यात्रा किया, हर दिन सुबह शाम बोलते रहा, फिर विदेश में जाके बोलते हैं कि इंडिया में बोलने का आज़ादी नहीं है। इसके खिलाफ, संसद के खिलाफ जो उन्होंने बात बोला, उसके लिए माफी मांगना होगा।
अपरिपक्व नेता है, उनकी मानसिक आयु 5 साल से कम लगती थी। वो जिस ढंग की बातें करते हैं, लेकिन इस बार जिस ढंग से आलोचना देश के बाहर जाके उन्होंने, वो विदेश में जाके अपने देश की आलोचना कर रहे हैं। वो सच्चे भारतीय नहीं है। मुझे तो उनके भारतीय होने पर ही संदेह है।
Now viewers, Rahul Gandhi held a press conference later but didn't apologize. In fact, he ignored the issue altogether. He played the victim card, saying that if democracy was alive in India, then he would have been allowed by the NDA to speak in the House, to say his piece, as he said, in the House. Listen in.
So if Indian democracy was functioning, I would be able to say my piece in Parliament. So actually what you are seeing is a test of Indian democracy. I went to Parliament this morning with the idea of putting what I have said or what I feel on the floor of the House. 4 ministers have raised allegations against me in Parliament House, and as a member of Parliament, it is my right to speak. But I'm hopeful that I will be allowed to speak tomorrow. And the whole idea is that these questions must not be on the table. And that is why this whole exercise of 4 or 5 ministers, the Prime Minister giving a speech, to distract from this fundamental question, which is what is the relationship between the Prime Minister of India and Mr. Adani and his companies, and more importantly, whose money is in these shell companies.
You see, viewers, he's well within his rights to ask any questions of the Prime Minister on his relationship, alleged purported relationship with Adani, etc., but he must answer. He can't dodge, he can't gloss over the fact that he said what he said, inviting foreign intervention. In fact, before seeking US or EU intervention, it would have been very good had Rahul Gandhi paused to take note of what the US and many global leaders have said about the state of democracy in India. Joe Biden, US President, on May 2022, said, PM Modi's success proves democracies can deliver. Democracies can deliver, viewers. US and India share a commitment to democratic values. India has the largest expression of free political will in the world. Free media, independent courts, fair electoral system. This is Blinken, US Secretary of State in 2021. And it goes on, because there are many, many people who've come out and certified, as if we need certificates, but I'm just saying, he could have just checked. So I want to open this up. And I just want to begin by reminding viewers of a particular factotum of history. And I want to actually today start with the Congress and the BJP. And I promise that I will give Dr. Ranganathan some time, because he is facing, viewers, a scurrilous attack, a misconceived, misplaced attack on his rights. And here on Times Now, we support his right to stand up for free speech. So I'll come to you, Doctor. I just want to remind our viewers about something that Rahul Gandhi's own grandmother said. Forget it, he may not believe Blinken or Biden or whatever, but at least think about what your own grandmother said. At the height of the emergency, when India's democracy was in the ICU, Mrs. Gandhi said, as the Prime Minister, I can say, the more they try to suppress us or oppose us, the more strong and united we'll be, she said. We don't care for their criticism, whether it came from the Socialist International or any other organization. Ms. Gandhi said, whenever, quotes, we had taken steps to make the country strong and united, they opposed us, unquote, criticizing certain foreign powers. She said, they always run down India, belittle its achievements, whether the launch of Aryabhatta or the Pokhran nuclear test. She said they got, quote, an excuse to criticize us afresh, unquote, when emergency was proclaimed. This is Ms. Gandhi telling the West to take a walk. And here Rahul Gandhi is inviting the West to take a walk through the heart of Indian democracy. How do you view this? Let's ask some specific questions. Tehseen Poonawala, you can start by diverting tonight. I give you the freedom. Talk about Adani. But I want you to answer, not like Rahul, who needs to be prompted. I just want you to answer me. What about this U-turn? He says something on March 4th, inviting foreign intervention. He does a complete U-turn. Obviously, he became aware of something, some criticism. And where does this U-turn come from? And why is, if it is a U-turn, a course correction, then why, if he's cognizant of his mistake, doesn't he apologize? Mr. Poonawala.
Rahul, good evening. Thank you for having me on the show. Good evening to all my fellow panelists. And we onset my absolute support for Dr. Ranganathan. No matter what he says, he has been an advocate of free speech, and I stand absolutely with him, no matter how much I may differ with him, because that is what we believe in. Those are our values that we share. These values, these democratic values, which are today under threat, is what Rahul Gandhi is speaking about. And you can blame the Congress for whatever they've done wrong, and I agree to that, and therefore they're out of power. But let's say Rahul Gandhi said nothing wrong. He doesn't need to apologize. But even if, hypothetically, one were to assume that he said something wrong, and I will get into those details. 2 points. Number one, the BJP says that Mr. Rahul Gandhi is irrelevant. If Mr. Rahul Gandhi is irrelevant, why is the government of India disrupting parliament for an irrelevant member of parliament? He said something, you think he's irrelevant or whatever, then please allow parliament to function, because you don't want to discuss jobs, economy, any of that. You want to escape from those discussions. Point number two, you all started proceedings against Mr. Gandhi in parliament. When you all started proceedings against Mr. Gandhi in parliament, allow him to speak in parliament and he will give you a Muh Tod Jawaab. And have the guts to listen to his jawab and don't delete 40 minutes of his speech. Democracy is under threat when a leader in the opposition speaks for 50 minutes and 40 minutes of his speech is deleted. That is what we are talking about. That is the freedom of speech that we are fighting to uphold, just like we are fighting to uphold Dr. Ranganathan's speech. One last point. Rahul Gandhi in the UK said, Indian democracy is a public good. We will sort out our own internal differences. He said that, he repeats that today. It is the government that does not want to debate. If Rahul Gandhi is wrong, talk on the floor of the House. Get him on the floor of the House. Why are you running away from a discussion? Because you all have everything to hide.
Okay, so just 1 second. First you said, you began your defense, luckily on point, but you said, if he has said something, now I'm asking you, would you, Mr. Poonawala, sitting in some swank space in London or in the UK, in a nice band gala, start talking about the problems at home and the lack of condemnation from abroad? I'm just asking you, would you say things like usual defenders of democracy are silent, democracy is disappearing in India, surprising that US, EU are oblivious of it? I'm just asking you, you're not a hypocrite, you're a patriot, you have got a tattoo of the tricolor somewhere on your person. You tell me, you hold that up tonight, and you tell me, would you invite a foreign power to comment, sir, on the state of Indian democracy? Or would you do what Mrs. Gandhi did, Rahul Gandhi's grandmother?
I am old-fashioned as a politician, if I were to be. I'm very old-fashioned. But unfortunately, we are living in a time where the Prime Minister said that nobody is proud to be Indian before he became Prime Minister. He makes fun of secularists while he gives people the whole.
So if that is wrong, so are you saying if that is wrong, then this should also be condemned because it's wrong? And if it is wrong, should he apologize?
Has the Prime Minister apologized for
it? It doesn't matter. I'm only asking you, does Rahul Gandhi hold himself to higher standards, or does he hold himself to the standards of anyone that he despises? If that is it, then what is his use as an alternative? I'm only asking you, Tehseen Poonawala. Just tell me what you would do. What would Tehseen Poonawala do? Would he say this?
I would raise the issues, but I would raise them absolutely differently, but not obviously. You don't bring your country into it on a foreign soil. But the
so now hang on. Here, viewers.
But they have no
but now you've been honest, and I'm glad, because I can expect that from you, Tehseen Poonawala. And that's why you are followed so closely by people, because you do, Satyamev Jayate. The truth does bubble up in your mind, even though your heart might be with the Gandhis, and of course, you are part of their family. But you have put family aside for the nation. And Dr. Trivedi, I just want to ask you, the charge, however, remains against you that aapne iska baat ka bahut bada bana diya hai. You've blown this out of proportion, batangar bana diya hai, so that you can deflect. You can stall parliament, so there is no discussion. 4 days have gone in this.
Those who are trying to put an allegation, I just want to put forth a fact. That if it would have been a single, isolated, one sentence, somehow you can say carelessly came out of the mouth of Mr. Rahul Gandhi, and we would have been, eco ho raha jara theek karwa dijiyega, then we would have been making an issue of this, then the allegation could have sustained. But this is a consistent, repeated, again and again spoken by Rahul Gandhi on one platform or the other from several times in the previous time. So it seems this is a consistent, well thought of strategy of Congress party. But this time he has crossed the limit. Can you ever quote a single instance in which any of the senior party leader of the country has gone abroad and asked for reaction on Indian internal matters? What is the definition of the reaction? They want a sanction, or they want that India should be besieged, or India should be criticized, or there should be a political attack, or the diplomatic attack, or the physical attack. Because the reaction is a very open and very sensitive issue. I don't remember anywhere in the history any senior leader has sent right dick.
No, I'll tell
Indira ji has also
you are
gone
forgetting.
to London after 77 defeat.
Doctor, you're forgetting Mani
During the
Shankar Iyer.
emergency, you cannot quote a single.
You are forgetting Mani Shankar Iyer. You are forgetting Mani Shankar Iyer, who sat in Pakistan and called for regime change in India, if you remember. Do you remember that?
No,
that was senior leader.
Sir, I was सुनिए राहुल जी, आपने मेरे मुंह की बात छीन ली, मैं उसी पे आ रहा था. The problem is that the Congress party, wherever they goes, मणिशंकर अय्यर और सलमान खुर्शीद जी ने जाके कहा था पाकिस्तान में कि मोदी जी को हटाओ, पाकिस्तान का क्या हर्ष हो रहा दिखाई पड़ रहा है. नाउ राहुल गांधी हैज गॉन टू इंग्लैंड एंड सेइंग दिस. वैसे इंग्लैंड के भी हालात कुछ बहुत अच्छे नहीं है. लेट अस सी व्हाट हैपेंस इन फ्यूचर, बिकॉज देयर इज अ फेमस प्रोवर्ब इन हिंदी, जहां जहां चरण पड़े संतन के तहता बंटा धार. तो वेर एवर ही गोज फ्रॉम द कांग्रेस पार्टी लीडरशिप टू एनीवेयर अब्रॉड, द रिजल्ट्स आर नॉट सूदिंग.
Dr. Trivedi, before I bring in Dr. Ranganathan,
I just want to...
No, one question. ठीक है. It's a big issue for you. Why don't you move a privilege motion? Move a privilege motion against Rahul Gandhi. Tie him down. You are part of the... I'm sure that there are members of the BJP who are part of the ethics committee. I think we had a spokesperson yesterday from the BJP who was part of the ethics committee, Mr. Rudy.
If you remembering, one of our MP, Mr. Nishikant Dubey, has already moved a privilege motion, and which is pending in front of the ethics committee. So we are not just trying to hoodwink the people. Okay. Whatever we are saying with firm conviction.
Okay.
So that's why I am saying that what Rahul Gandhi ji is saying, he has done an utter disrespect to the sovereignty of India. And on the lighter note, I would like to say, "Arey Zanab, wo din chale gaye." They are living in the hangover of their own time. When we used to read that the Russia is interfering in India and the US is interfering in Indian election, now the time has come, as per the allegation of the Congress party, that we were interfering in the US elections. So, साहब अब ज़माना बहुत बदल गया. I am unable to understand that why Congress is still in the hangover of the 20th century when they were in the power and they were expecting that there
Let
can
me
be
bring
some
in
influence
Dr.
of foreign
Ranganathan.
powers in India. Now India is influencing the other way round.
Okay. Let me bring in Dr. Ranganathan. Dr. Ranganathan, I have proved tonight, using hard factual evidence, that there was a complete U-turn, a climb down. Call it what you want, a recalibration, a course correction. There are many words for it. What do you think? I don't have a problem with Rahul Gandhi saying whatever, but I think there are certain red lines that shouldn't be crossed. And even if he has crossed them and people are finding it problematic, he should come out and say, okay, I said it. Now do what you want. Let the people judge.
Yes, good evening, Rahul, and good evening to my fellow panelists. I have very briefly 3 issues to address. Number one, it is beyond doubt, and all of us have proved it, that Rahul Gandhi has lied on an industrial scale, that he has indulged in industrial scale hypocrisy, and that he has taken industrial scale U-turns. All these 3 things are facts. But is it a crime to lie? Is it a crime to take a U-turn? Is it a crime to be hypocritical? If it was a crime in India, then I dare say all our jails would be filled with all our politicians. Before the U-turn, the surprising thing is that the so-called defenders of democracy, which are the US, European countries, seem to be oblivious that a chunk of democratic model has come undone. The opposition is fighting the battle, and it is not an Indian battle alone. Actually, it is much more of a bigger battle, a battle for a huge part of democratic people. So I ask you, all right, he's asking for Europeans and Americans with his completely flawed thinking, that they should speak about the death of democracy in India. I don't see anything wrong in that per se.
Okay,
is he asking for the American armies to invade India? I don't think so.
No, that's all very well, Doctor, and that's why I said you can say whatever you want to. But you see, politics is about perceptions, viewers. My point is, admit what you have said. Be proud, own it. If you believe it, own it. I'm sure, Dr. Ranganathan, you don't flip and flop on every Monday and Wednesday and Friday when you appear on India Upfront. You don't say, "Arey, मैंने Monday को जो बोला आज मैं थोड़ा change कर देता and Friday को कुछ और ही बोल देता हूँ." You won't do that because you believe in what you're saying. My point is, if you're going to an extent of obfuscating, diverting, then it shows that you are not standing up for what you believe. And therefore, you don't have conviction. And if you don't have conviction, viewers, and you're saying it for the sake of saying it, then either someone is making you say it, or, viewers, and this is dangerous, or you are trying to plot against the country. There are only two aspects to this. Own it with pride. Ashutosh ji, question goes to you. Own it. Admit it. Wear
Rahul,
it.
Rahul, let me speak. Rahul, two things. First of all, since BJP and the government has caught napping on the Adani issue, it's a diversionary tactics, it's a deflection and nothing else. If Rahul Gandhi should be hanged for what he said there, then what about Mr. Narendra Modi when he said in 2015 in Germany that India used to go with a begging bowl for a permanent seat at UN Security Council? Did Mr. Narendra Modi apologize to the nation? The matter was raised in the parliament. There was a disruption in the parliament. This is first time this is happening, that the government which used to accuse opposition for disruption of the parliament, a bizarre situation is happening. Government itself is disrupting parliament.
Okay.
बहुत अच्छे से राहुल जी सुनाई दे रहा है.
I'm coming
And
to
I
you
would
then.
like to put on.
One second, I'm coming to you. Let Dr. Ranganathan, I didn't know. Let Dr. Ranganathan quickly finish, and I want to bring in Dr. Trivedi, and then I'll come to you, sir. You'll have the last word, I promise you, and yours will be final.
Rahul, very briefly, the third reason why we all love Ashutosh, and there's a lot of love going around out here, is the fact that I remember that he himself very bravely, and I admire him for that, he criticized the JPC that sat on Bofors, because the JPC acquitted every political party of wrongdoing in Bofors, and I admire Ashutosh for that. But here, he seems to be having entered into a very specious argument by saying that the parliament is more supreme than the Supreme Court. Can I ask him a simple question? Was the Rafale debate settled in parliament or in the Supreme Court? Had the Rafale debate or Justice Loya debate not gone to the Supreme Court, it would never have been settled. Because the Congress would always have accused.
Actually, Dr. Ranganathan, you should ask him a more piquant question. Should the Places of Worship Act debate be settled in Parliament or in the courts?
Correct.
You tell me.
Rahul, let me answer to that.
Yes.
Answer on Rafale.
I'll remind my dear friend Anand Ranganathan. I'll remind my dear friend Anand Ranganathan what Arun Jaitley has said about the Rajya Sabha and what Arun Jaitley has said about
forget
the
about that. Talk about no, one second.
It's very important because Arun Jaitley has said this is tyranny of unelected. So if tyranny of unelected hai, when it suits you, the Supreme Court comes to your rescue. Sir, if it doesn't suit you, then it's a tyranny of unelected.
Sir, we are asking you a straight question.
You can't ride on the two horses.
Should Parliament settle the debate?
Hello,
Ashutosh ji.
Supremacy of the Supreme Court.
Ashutosh ji.
There's a political issue.
Ashutosh ji. 1 minute. Ashutosh ji. Should Parliament, 1 second. Should Parliament on CAA, should Parliament on Article 370 and the Place of Worship Act settle the debate? Or should it go to Supreme Court? I'm asking you this question.
I'm answering a simple question. The court has given clean chit Rajiv Gandhi on the Bofors.
सवाल का जवाब सर आप ऐसे कैसे हो गए आप ऐसे कैसे हो गए आप राहुल जैसे कैसे हो गए ये तो गलत है ओके डॉक्टर सुधांशु त्रिवेदी wants to come in. Dr. Trivedi wants to come in. And also, let me tell you, after Dr. Trivedi responds, Mr. Bansal, I'll read out to you the remit of the Supreme Court committee. Yes, Dr. Trivedi, go ahead.
On the issue of suitability or convenience, which Ashutosh ji was saying, regarding the sovereignty of the parliament and the supremacy of the Supreme Court, yes, it was very appropriate for the Congress party when it was a matter of Shahbano and the issue of Sharia and the issue of the fanatic Muslim cleric. Then the sovereignty of parliament was over and above the Supreme Court, and they trounced the Supreme Court decision by the parliament when it came to the issue of Ram Janmabhoomi. Then they abdicated the sovereignty of parliament to the Supreme Court of India because this suits to their political purposes. So it was very clear that as and when required to their political suitability, they have done the same thing. And on the issue of Bofors, I would like to say the JPC was constituted under the chairmanship of V. Shankaranand, which has acquitted everybody. But sir, with due due respect, Rajiv Gandhi ji was not acquitted. Rajiv Gandhi's name surfaced, but by that time he was no more, so his name was obviated.
Yes.
So subsequently there was no inquiry, nothing was there, and it is a hard fact that Octavio Quattroci's account was found, and subsequently a red corner notice was undone in Argentina during the last days of the UPA one.
Okay.
And
now
then how the entire account has been transferred. मतलब ये जानते राहुल जी कैसा हुआ? जैसे किसी नाके के ऊपर एक कोई चोर निकल के भाग गया हो, तो instead of informing the next नाका, they said अब निकल गया तो निकल गया, जाने दो उसकी गाड़ी को.
सर ये कभी-कभी मालिया साहब के साथ भी हो गया था. ये मालिया साहब के साथ भी हो गया था. ये हमें भूलना नहीं चाहिए. मालिया साहब के साथ भी हुआ था. Anyhow, चलिए.
साहब पे तो कोई केस ही नहीं था, सारे केस हमारे आने के बाद हुए.
ओके सर, फिर उसके बाद
सारे केस हमारे आने के बाद हुए.
सर उसके बाद 2-3 और भी निकल गए थे. Anyhow, just 1 minute.
वो तो पीएम को थैंक
बोल दीजिए आप.
Rahul, first of all, please, can I now start?
Of course.
Rahul ji, first of all, I would like to contradict what you are saying. There is no U-turn.
Okay.
There's no U-turn in what Mr. Rahul. No, let me just complete.
Yeah, you finish, sir. I'm just laughing.
Just complete it. You may be having your point of view, and let me just put forth my point of view, and then you come to a conclusion, and then you give a. You see, this is as Mr. Ranganathan had been saying. This is a time when globalization is taking place. Any event, any occurrence, in any part of the world happens, and it affects the entire International Committee of Nations. Like Ukraine and Russian war is taking place, but it is affecting the economy of the world globally. So, if Mr. Rahul, India happens to be the largest democracy, Rahul ji was addressing Indian diaspora, and he said people should take cognizance. The democracy is diluting.
Who should take?
Let me say. You cited instances
Who should take?
Mr. Biden had said.
No, who should take cognizance, Bansal ji? Who should take cognizance?
Democracy number is coming down. India's international the ranking, India's democracy ranking is coming down. Secondly, I would like to cite a very recent instance where what happened, a person of your fraternity, he heckled an MLA in Muradabad in Chandosi district, asking her that the promises which she had made on the eve of the election.
सर आपको पता है राजस्थान और तमिलनाडु में क्या हो रहा है? आपके allies और आपकी सरकार क्या कर रही है? No. देखिए सर, now stop being selective. Viewers, what kind of response is coming from Mr. Bansal tonight?
No, definitely.
We really respect
very
you.
much.
Okay. Very quickly, Tehseen Poonawala, who Mr. Bansal has conceded that he would not have said it in that way. So Bansal ji, आपके खुद ही सहयोगी कह रहे हैं. Anyhow,
just one line. Let me expose the BJP in one line.
Yeah, you expose them. आज कर.
Just one line.
Yes.
ये भारतीय hypocrisy party 2G के मामले में सुप्रीम कोर्ट गए और वही भारतीय जनता पार्टी, let me quote Arun Jaitley and Sushma Swaraj verbatim outside Parliament, Rahul, perhaps you and I know Ashutosh was standing, said it is the right of the opposition to disrupt Parliament, disrupted the entire winter session of Parliament despite the matter being sub judice in the Honorable Supreme Court, because, and I quote Arun Jaitley saying, we will not allow the government to get away in courts or in Parliament.
So you're admitting.
BJP that went
Dr.
to where it
Trivedi wants to respond.
That time they did. Why time?
Dr. Trivedi wants to respond to you. Okay, Dr. Trivedi wants to respond.
Why did you
I want to clarify.
Yes, Dr. Trivedi.
I want to clarify, sir, it was not the winter session, it was the monsoon session of Parliament, and not after Supreme Court. After the session, the matter has gone to Supreme Court, sir. The 2G has been established by Supreme Court.
Sir, Rahul, fact check the.
तब जाके मामला शांत हुआ था. Government has not accepted those things. And now I am coming to that.
Okay, no, hang on. Let me just step in. Not so much quarrel, please. Then everyone speaks over each other.
Now can I come to say something?
Yeah, doctor.
I just want to say what Mr. Bansal was saying. I think I agree to that. Because it is saying that the Congress has taken a U-turn is a too naive. They have taken a serpentine turn. Because whenever they change the stance, it's a venomous to the Indian establishment also. But what he has said that today the world has become connected with the economy and finance and others. And when they say, he is saying that the Russia-Ukraine war is affecting Indian economy. जब हम कहते हैं inflation बढ़ रहा है, कहते हैं, so what? We want an answer. Sir, अगर डेमोक्रेसी पे हमें बाहर से कोई कनेक्शन नहीं चाहिए. राहुल, I want to say one sentence for people like Rahul Gandhi, people like Congress Party.
Okay. Gentlemen, there's no point shouting over each other. You're just losing the plot. Okay. Dr. Ranganathan wants to make.
Now, I really respect both the panelists today from the Congress side, Mr. Bansal especially. But one very small question to Bansalji when he's talking about the death of democracy right now. Under the UPA, in a single day, Mr. Bansal, 8,500 activists were arrested and charged with sedition. And when they were, the then Home Minister, Mr. Chidambaram, said they are all anti-nationals. Do you think, simple question, do you think that was an assault on democracy or not? Yes or no, sir?
Yes, it was.
Yes, it
Mr. Ranganathan, first of all,
It was an assault on Indian democracy. That should be
I am
condemned.
ignorant about these figures. What you are.
It's okay, sir. It's good to be ignorant.
Emergency is only
Okay, now lower
one
everyone's
over
faders.
of
Ho gaya.
You-
Now, one second, please. Let's not keep, just yapping for the sake of it. It's very irritating. Droning around. Now, it's very simple, straightforward, basic point I want to make. If India collapses, there will be revelations about the world and people will come running and say that, ye kya ho raha hai? It happened in Ukraine. The world got alarmed because there would be consequences. So look at the heat that was generated. If democracy was really in danger, why isn't the world running around and saying, oh my God, India is imploding and that's the end of the East? I mean, that logic, Mr. Bansal, is wrong. You made an example of Ukraine. The whole world became alive because everything is connected. So if India is dying, why isn't anyone talking about it? In fact, why are they complimenting Modi? Just think about that, viewers. I want to move on.